Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter at Clinton Global Initiative in New York. With me now is the CEO of the Institute of International Education, Dr. Allan Goodman. And Doctor, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for Newsmax, and it's reaching many audiences, especially with our story.
Doctor, Syria's higher education is in crisis as a result of the crisis there. Can you give us some perspective on just how serious the situation is?
It's a catastrophe, and it really illustrates to all of us how much better peace is than war. But in the case of Syrian higher education, it was a perfect storm. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The universities were targeted and bombed early. Faculty members and students that provided first aid were labeled by the regime as aiding the terrorists, so they were targeted. So the universities were bombed, the faculties began to be targeted and polarized, and then both the government and the rebel groups set up checkpoints so that if you were a student trying to get to your university, even if you had a draft deferment document from the army, if you were stopped by a military checkpoint of the government, they said, rip it up, we're drafting you immediately. If you were stopped by a rebel group, they said, forget about going to school, we need you to fight on the front lines. So in a matter of really a few months, this crisis, which in other situations where we've worked, takes years to build up, and universities sometimes are the last to be targeted, this all happened almost from the very beginning, creating the need for hundreds and thousands of people to find some way to have help and hope.
And I guess that's where your organization is coming in. IIE, in partnership with Princess Besma bint Al Saud's United Global Lanterns and other organizations, are committed to providing 600 Syrian students with scholarships and 15 fellowships for Syrian scholars. How can this make a difference?
We believe saving one life at a time has the potential of saving all of mankind. It's a Chinese proverb, it's an Islamic proverb, it's a Jewish proverb, a Catholic saying. It's in, all you can do is help one student, one scholar, one life at a time. Sometimes they save everybody's lives. When we worked to rescue scholars from the Nazis in the 1930s, one of the people we rescued invented the MRI, and that's saved thousands and thousands of people's lives. So you never know, the life you save may help others. In the case of Iraq, we helped hundreds of Iraqi professors, one of whom invented a cure for a rare form of blood cancer. Now, he didn't cure every cancer in the world, but for thousands of people afflicted by this, they have life because you were able to save that one life. But what I said at the beginning, it really always troubles me. It is so hard to recover from war. Peace is so much better. It would be so much better if we didn't have these conflicts, didn't have to work one student, one scholar at a time, because it's really expensive. It's really hard. People's lives are really disrupted. Many Syrian scholars, for example, are medical scholars, or their children are in medical school. It is not easy to move your family from one country to another. Even if you can do your work, your kids can't go to school because the medical education system is different. We wish we didn't have to do this. We've been doing it for nearly 100 years, which is a real indictment of our world and the attacks made on scholars.
Doctor, with more than 100,000 dead and with much of Syria's infrastructure bombed to ruins, what are the prospects for Syria's future, and what role does education play in that?
Syria is one of the world's oldest countries. It's mentioned in the Bible. It has some of the world's oldest archaeological structures. It has a great civilization and tradition. It can rebuild. It will rebuild. Wars do end. Rescued scholars and students do return to their home countries, and because after all it is home. That's where they'd like to be. So we think that the moment peace breaks out, education rebuilds. After the atomic bombs in Japan, the end of World War II, One of the most striking things, within 24 hours, grass began to grow again after this huge devastation. We think the same will happen when higher education gets a chance to rebuild. Give us peace, and we can rebuild.
Dr. Goodman, if folks want to learn more about the organization, your organization, where can they go?
IIE.org. We welcome inquiries, we'd welcome help, and we appreciate Newsmac's interest in what we do.
Dr. Goodman, thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.